This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by HVAC Trust Books. Go to hvactrustbooks.com to discover how this tool can help you close more sales. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. Sales. You can't live without them. Yet many people hate the word sales or salesperson. Without sales, you don't have revenue. There are the traditional salespeople who are responsible for generating revenue through equipment sales. Technicians generate revenue through selling the customer on making the repairs necessary. And you as an owner sell your ideas to your employees every day. Today, you can discover how to improve your sales, whatever the type, during my conversation with Tom Piscatelli, who has a long career in sales as well as training salespeople with great results. Tom, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Well, thank you, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure to have you. It's been a while since we've talked about this, but you've been around in the sales industry for a really long time, haven't you?
Well, I started selling when I was 11 years old, and I'm now 67. So how's that?
Yeah, I think you have a long career in it, and you've been really successful at it too.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and it's rewarding to me because helping others is very important to me, and I can't think of a better way to help people than to help them feel positive about selling.
I agree. Why do you think most people have a really bad connotation with the word sell or sales?
Well, salespeople are somewhat abusive in certain situations. Everybody has an experience where the pushy salesperson has created a pretty bad taste in their mouth. And when someone has that in their experience and then they themselves go into selling, they don't want to be perceived that way. And so they tend to pull back on things that can actually help them be effective at selling, but they pull back because they don't want to come across in a way that was pushy and made them unhappy themselves.
Right. And I know you've seen technicians who've been good technically and they turn into really phenomenal salespeople, right?
Sure. Anyone can be an effective salesperson. It really begins with their attitude about it, and then the skills can be trained and developed and practiced.
And you do that very well.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk a little bit about, you developed the trust selling system. How many years ago now?
Almost 20. I used to teach another sales training curriculum, and I had feedback from participants that it came across as pushy. And I kind of knew that, but when the contractors told me that, it resonated with me. And I started collecting the best practices of the most effective salespeople who weren't pushy. And there are plenty of those, and those practices and tactics produce great results. So I kind of modeled my curriculum after those things, and sure enough, it does create terrific results.
Right. And I think people are very open to people who come and talk to them, who build what you and I both call rapport, but also have their best interests at heart and not, quote unquote, the pushy salesperson.
George Burns has many quotes that are humorous, and he was once asked, I understand, after he was 100 years old, he was once asked, George, what do you consider the greatest secret to success in life? George's reply apparently was sincerity. Once you learn how to fake that, you've got it made. So whether it's true or not, what we're left with the idea that when you are in fact sincere in your intention to help others, you will be perceived as sincere, and that is a precursor to rapport. Rapport is a precursor to trust. So for me, it's just about having an intention to help people, and the rest of it will come.
Right. And when you look at things, I mean, your son, I think, is now selling, isn't he?
Well, I have 3 sons and a daughter. All 4 are in sales. 3 of them sell HVAC, actually.
Yeah, I knew one of them was selling HVAC and doing really well at it.
He is. He's in his 10th year, and he limits his leads because a work-life balance is very important to him. They just had their 3rd baby, and he's active in the community and in church. So he runs under 400 leads a year and typically sells about 1.8 or so million, which in Seattle, where we don't have much air conditioning, is a pretty good result, I think, for that number of leads.
I would definitely agree with that. So he learned it from dad.
Well, he's my son, so I'm not going to claim that he follows my instructions.
Oh, come on, Tom.
I do take credit for it privately.
So cool. All right. So I have a salesperson that I think would be a good salesperson. How do I know that this person is going to be good or bad? Are there some questions that I can ask in the interview process to give me a clue whether he will be good or bad?
Sure. First of all, I'd consider a she instead of he. And
All
I'm
right.
saying this because you are you. My experience with women in sales who are selling to homeowners, and there's almost always a she involved, and often it's just she who's making the decision. I found that women are more effective at communicating individually with other women. That's just kind of an aside.
Okay. All right. So what makes her a good salesperson? Is that better?
So if the listeners can remember this little formula or write it down, the first letter in the formula is P, stands for performance, then equals C, standing for competency, M for motivation, E for environment. So P equals competency times motivation times environment.
Okay.
Since it's multiplicative, any of those could be zero and the result would be zero. So let's take a look at each one.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to go through the whole formula in a lot of detail. So I want to do that after the break. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So we need to take a quick break and we're going to be right back and we're going to go through Tom Piscatelli's formula. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. We'll be right back. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm here with Tom Piscatelli, and we are going to learn and discover the formula for salespeople. So, Tom, the floor is all yours.
Okay, so performance equals competency times motivation times environment. So when you're hiring, or anybody's hiring for any position really, consider the three variables. Competency for salespeople is not necessarily having a strong HVAC mechanical background. It's that they are capable of learning the things that a comfort advisor has to learn in order to be effective at creating a proposal and handing off the information to installation. So it's a mechanical ability is what I'll call it. Hire for that capability. Don't worry about the ability when you train them, when you hire them.
So I don't need somebody who has 16 years in the HVAC field to do this.
Absolutely not. And in some cases, if the individual is enamored with the construction side of things, it can get in the way of their people skills, which are more important.
Okay, so what's next?
We're going to skip the M for a moment and go to E for the environment. Environment is the company, and that begins with leadership. How does the company establish itself, and what is its culture? Is it sales oriented, sales supportive? Is it more operations oriented? Are salespeople held in fair respect or not? And that's a pretty important factor. Then M, motivation, is really what you hire for, I believe. Everybody looks good in an interview or on a resume. Find out when you're interviewing what this person has done in his or her lifetime that gives you indication that they're motivated. An example, the first person I hired when I was with Honeywell a long, long time ago was a woman, and there were no women salespeople in my division of Honeywell at the time. She was right out of school and had no experience in anything other than English, actually, was her major. But I asked her that question, and I stumbled across the question. I'm not going to claim brilliance at the time, but it was, and as it turns out, very wise. I asked her that question, what have you done in your life that you're really proud of? And she said that she and 3 friends between their junior and senior year in college decided that they were going to have a touring business in Kiowa Island off the coast of South Carolina, which you well know.
Mm-hmm.
And so she and her friends, 3 guys, bought a bus. They scraped up some savings, bought an old school bus, painted it with a brush, drove it from Kenosha, Wisconsin to Kiowa Island, and along the way read every book they could find on the history of Kiowa Island. And that summer, they did tours and made money, paid off all their debts, and went back with enough money to pay for college for the next year. I said, "You're hired." Because that told me that she was willing to walk into the unknown, confident in herself that she could learn what was necessary to get the result. She was clear about what the result was that she wanted and produced it. And she eventually became quite a successful salesperson, actually eventually moving into aerospace and defense.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So she obviously needed to be trained from a sales perspective. She had the motivation. She was willing to walk into the unknown, but probably didn't know a whole lot about selling, correct?
That's correct. And so that's a learned skill. And as I said earlier, anybody who wants to learn how to sell has motivation, good people skills, willing to take initiative, all those things are going to make a successful salesperson.
Cool. All right. So give us the formula again.
P for performance equals competency times motivation times environment.
So, and as you said before the break, if any one of those is 0, we lose. Everybody loses.
Everybody does.
All right. So let's fast forward. You hired this person, and let's say that this person was going to come to you for sales training. And I know you do a lot of training. You do a lot of training in your home in Seattle. And how can you take somebody and just mold them in a sales performance role?
Well, it begins with building a confidence level that they can do it right from the beginning. So evidence that others have been through the journey they're about to embark on and can create great results is certainly part of it. So we talk about the expected KPIs that they will have as a brand new person, what their close rates will be and what their average job selling prices will be. And that translates to them into predictability and income. That's important, that they know they can be successful, and they can. Then I give them confidence around a sales process that's proven. It's a roadmap that anyone can follow that begins with meeting and greeting the customer, engaging them, building that rapport and trust, discovering what the customer's needs and wants are by asking questions, looking for clues, taking some measurements, and then having some skills and some tools around building a compelling proposal, teaching them how to build a company presentation, then how to present it, how to close it, how to handle objections, how to follow up if they don't make the sale. It's kind of a paint by numbers approach, and it gives them the confidence they need to walk into a call knowing that they can be successful more than half the time.
Cool. All right. Now I'm going to give you the opportunity to brag. And I would actually tell some of the really cool success stories that you've told me over the years.
Well, I'll speak to Tyler then, who was just here this last week. I did have a class here in Seattle last week, and some of the local folks loved to come over with and mix with the ones who were going through training. So I asked Tyler to come over. And in Tyler's first 12 months as a salesperson, he just exceeded $2 million. Again, in Washington, that's doing something since few homes have air conditioning here. And Tyler's background was 10 years as a musician in a family band where he had a lot of fun and made no money, and a brief stint as a used car salesman, where he made no money and didn't have any fun. And he came to me with those credentials, but he was highly motivated, loves people. He fits the bill perfectly. And he and another guy that we trained about 6 months later, who was on his way to also selling $2 million, now compete to see who can sell the highest single-family replacement system, and they're both in the $24,000 range, and I'm as happy and as proud as I could be about anybody.
Yeah, and they will be motivating each other because if one of them gets a sale, the other one has to get a sale.
Trust me, the competition is fierce.
Yeah, I'll bet it is between the two of them, especially being in the same market, right? They're in the same market?
Same company.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah.
Salespeople. That's pretty special.
That's pretty special. All right. So let's assume that somebody wanted to get a hold of you and say, hey, Tom, I've got some salespeople that I would like to put through your training programs. Give me an idea of, are they 3-day? Are they 2-day? Are they a week? How long did they go? And is there follow-up?
I started combining the training into an all-encompassing program a couple of years ago. What I found was after 8,000 or so people going through workshops and not having any pre-training nor having any post-training follow-up, I decided that model really wasn't fair to anybody. So my full training program spans over about 2 months, and it begins with individual coaching sessions by webinar with the principal and the salesperson, where we talk about goals and what their processes are, what their outcomes, their strategic outcomes are. Then the individual and hopefully his or her manager attends. I make it easy for the manager to attend and fully participate in a 3.5-day training curriculum out here in Seattle. Then we follow up weekly for as many weeks as the individual and the owner want. And in fact, I remain sales coach for them for life by participating. Typically, this whole period of time is 6 to 8 weeks, but I still hear from people months and years later.
Cool. And how do we get a hold of you?
Sellingtrust.com is my website. It's more fun to talk, though. I'm at 425-985-4534. Love hearing from you.
Okay, Tom, thanks so much for being here. And I know you've done a phenomenal job training salespeople. So if you got a salesperson that needs some training, think about Tom's latest results, 0 to 2 million in a year. That's pretty phenomenal. Tom, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Ruth.
And thank you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. Call Tom. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.